The Mediterranean Sea has suddenly become the stage for a new chapter of global tension. As the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens, the world watches anxiously. Israel's warnings to international aid convoys have sparked international outrage, and Italy has just made its move. The Italian government, in an unprecedented decision, has deployed a fully armed naval warship to escort humanitarian aid bound for Gaza. It's not just a message of protection, it's a statement of defiance. The warship, equipped with advanced radar and missile defense systems, will guard the aid mission against any potential interference. The Italian Navy's presence marks a bold stand in a conflict that has already shaken world politics. Across Europe, analysts are calling it a turning point, a move that could either save lives or ignite a new wave of tension in the region. For Italy, this isn't only about Gaza, it's about international law, humanity, and the right to deliver aid without fear. Gaza is enduring one of the darkest periods in its history. Weeks of relentless bombardment have left thousands homeless, hospitals overwhelmed, and food supplies critically low. The humanitarian agencies are desperate, they need safe passage for medicine, food, and clean water. But recent Israeli warnings to ships approaching Gaza have made the mission almost impossible. Many nations hesitated, afraid of escalation. But Italy decided otherwise. The Italian government announced that aid must reach civilians, no matter the risk. The world's attention turned instantly to Rome. By sending a warship, Italy wasn't just protecting supplies, it was protecting the principle of humanitarian neutrality. This moment reignited global debate. Should nations step in when human suffering crosses political lines? Italy's move challenges silence with action, turning a simple act of aid into a powerful diplomatic statement that could reshape the region's fragile balance. The Italian warship, identified as the It's Andrea Doria, isn't just another vessel, it's a symbol of power and protection. Armed with advanced Aster missiles, surveillance drones, and electronic defense systems, it represents Italy's readiness to safeguard peace through strength. Its mission is clear: escort humanitarian ships safely to Gaza's coast while maintaining a defensive stance. Italian naval commanders have confirmed that the ship will operate under strict humanitarian protocols, it will not engage unless directly threatened. Still, the presence of a European warship so close to Gaza sends a strong signal to the world. Italy's defense ministry described it as a mission of peace through deterrence. Yet, behind that phrase lies a deeper tension: how will Israel respond? For now, the Italian Navy sails under the banner of compassion, but every radar ping and radio call carries the weight of potential confrontation. Israel's reaction was swift and sharp. Officials in Tel Aviv labeled the Italian decision as unnecessary and provocative, warning that any unauthorized vessel entering restricted maritime zones could face consequences. Israel argues that such moves compromise its security operations around Gaza. Behind closed doors, diplomatic channels lit up between Rome and Jerusalem, as both sides sought to prevent escalation. But the tone was tense. Italy's foreign minister emphasized that the mission's purpose was purely humanitarian, not political. Still, Israeli analysts fear that this deployment could encourage other nations to challenge its blockade policies. The United States, a close ally to both, urged restraint, but the situation is already fragile. Every movement in the Mediterranean now feels like a potential flashpoint. The Italian warship sails under watchful eyes, and every decision made aboard could decide whether this mission becomes a symbol of peace, or the spark of a larger conflict. Italy's move sent ripples far beyond the Mediterranean. In Europe, reactions were mixed. France expressed cautious support, Germany urged diplomacy, and Britain maintained silence. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations applauded the decision, calling it a moral stand in the face of fear. Across the Middle East, Arab nations praised Italy's courage. Social media exploded with hashtags like #ItalyForPeace and #AidForGaza, while others warned that this might deepen divisions in the region. The European Union, facing pressure to take a unified stance, now finds itself at a crossroads. Should it follow Italy's example, or remain neutral? The deployment of a single warship has suddenly turned into a global debate about ethics, sovereignty, and humanity. Italy has placed itself in the center of world attention, not as a military power, but as a defender of conscience. As the Italian warship sails through the calm blue waters of the Mediterranean, every mile it travels is being tracked by satellites, news outlets, and military intelligence. On board, the crew remains focused. Below deck, humanitarian containers are stacked, medical supplies, food rations, and water filters, all destined for Gaza's civilians. The mood is tense but determined. Journalists on board report a mix of pride and unease. They know they're part of history in motion. The sea may look peaceful, but beneath its surface lies the uncertainty of conflict. Communication lines are constantly open with NATO headquarters, ensuring coordination and safety. Each sunrise brings them closer to Gaza, and closer to the unknown. For the sailors, this mission isn't just about orders, it's about being part of something greater, a stand for humanity in the middle of chaos. Every conflict zone carries risk, and this mission is no exception. Military experts warn that any miscommunication at sea could trigger a dangerous chain of events. If Israeli patrol boats perceive the Italian ship as a threat, the situation could spiral quickly. That's why both sides have been exchanging diplomatic messages to avoid misunderstanding. Yet, history shows how easily accidents can happen. The Mediterranean has seen such moments before, sudden escalations that no one intended. On board the Andrea Doria, radar screens glow constantly, scanning for any sign of approaching vessels or aircraft. The crew knows they must stay calm, alert, and precise. A single wrong move could change everything. But despite the risk, Italy's leadership insists the mission will continue. "We cannot abandon civilians because of fear," said one official. Those words now echo across the sea. By deploying a warship to protect an aid convoy, Italy has done more than just send help, it has sent a message. It tells the world that humanitarianism doesn't need permission from politics. The Andrea Doria has become a symbol of moral resistance, a floating statement that compassion must prevail, even in times of conflict. Citizens across Europe have begun to see this not as a military action, but as a stand for universal values. In Rome, vigils and peace marches have gathered, carrying banners that read, "Aid is not a crime." Diplomats describe this as a shift in international psychology, where nations act not just in defense of territory, but in defense of humanity. Whether or not the mission succeeds, Italy has already ignited something powerful, the courage to care, in a world afraid of consequences. After days at sea, the convoy nears the Gaza coast. The tension is palpable, every movement is monitored, every frequency alive with chatter. As the Italian ship holds position, smaller aid boats move toward the designated drop point. No shots are fired, but drones buzz overhead. Cameras capture the moment, aid finally reaching those in desperate need. On social media, the footage spreads instantly. Around the world, people cheer the sight of medicine and food being delivered under the protection of a European flag. For Italy, it's a victory of principle over pressure. Yet, officials know this is only the beginning. Negotiations with Israel will intensify, and the region remains fragile. But for one brief moment, the world sees something rare, strength used not for domination, but for compassion. In the days following the mission, analysts call it historic. Italy's decision will be remembered not just as a naval operation, but as a moral milestone. It challenges how nations view their role in humanitarian crises. The world now debates, will others follow Italy's lead? The Andrea Doria returns home to applause and headlines, its crew hailed as heroes. In Gaza, thousands survive because aid reached in time. Diplomacy continues, but the impact of this act echoes globally. In a time of fear and division, one nation dared to act with humanity at its core. Italy didn't just deploy a warship, it deployed hope. And that message, sailing across oceans and screens, may prove more powerful than any weapon ever built.